Today's subject is a freeware route in Train Simulator Classic. This is Richard Scott's rendition of a famous narrow gauge railway in India, namely the Darjeeling Himalayan Railway. At present, I don't know if there's any other Indian content available for Train Simulator, nor do I know too much about Indian railways overall, and I must also apologise in advance if I butcher the pronunciation of any local place names. According to the manual, this route was released in 2015. Mr. Scott only modelled the 5.9 km long section from Ghum to Darjeeling, but he also modelled the rolling stock and custom assets. The latter certainly helped with the immersion. The full line runs for 83.9 km from New Jalpaiguri to Darjeeling, and the track gauge is 610 mm, or 2 feet. The route was available on UKTrainSim until that site's closure in 2023, but the old files are still available on the Internet Archive. Each UKTS download has a unique file ID, and you'll need to download 3 folders for the Darjeeling route, numbers 34737, 34738, and 34739. These are the rolling stock, route, and scenery packs respectively. As stated in the manual, you should also have the UKTS Foliage freeware pack installed, and the only payware requirement is the European Loco and Asset pack. But the manual doesn't actually show you how to install the DHR files themselves. You'll need to extract the content from the .zip folders to get the RWP files for the route and rolling stock. The scenery pack is already just an RWP file. I use 7-zip to extract the assets and content folders from the RWP files because I thought TS Utilities was too tedious. After the fact, I simply drop the files into my Railworks directory. An example of a typical directory is on screen now, although this doesn't apply to me since I've got TS installed on an external hard drive. On the motive power scene, you only get the iconic B-Class 040 saddle tank steam locomotives, of which 34 were built between 1889 and 1925. The DHR uses NDM-6 class diesel locomotives more often than the Bs these days, but the steamers remain an icon of the line. Incidentally, only 4 members of the B-Class are provided in the pack, namely 779 Himalayan Bird, 780 Green Hills, 785, which doesn't have a name, and 792 Hawkeye. As much as I don't like how their classmate 787 looked when she was rebuilt as an oil burner, it would still have been interesting to see that engine in the game too. Now I don't know about you, but to me, the proportions of the B-Class are very strange. This thing has a rather long overhang at each end, as well as a disproportionately large coal bunker and small water tank. As for the passenger coaches, you get 9 of them with the rolling stock pack. The normal coaches are numbers 82, 102, 104, 108A, 117, 119, and 121A. Along with observation coach number 14 and guards van number 154. Lastly, there's even a small selection of freight wagons included, even though, according to the manual, the DHR stopped running freight trains in 1993. Although the Darjeeling to Ghum section is fairly short, it takes at least 12 minutes to traverse. You have to deal with gradients as steep as 1 in 18, and the curves are very sharp, to the point where you will easily derail on them if you go any faster than around 15 miles an hour. And if you don't concentrate on driving these locomotives, there's a good chance of stalling on the inclines. As for the locomotive's physics, I have no idea how accurate these are. The chuff sounds are reused from the default Kuju era Black 5 or 7F. I can't remember which one exactly, but the manual states that the whistle sound is a recording from the real B-Class. The measurements on the in-game routes are done in miles, and although the speed limit is 25 miles per hour for most of the run, I wouldn't recommend going any faster than 10 or 15 due to the severe curves. Another interesting aspect of this route is the track running right next to the road, with no barriers, for most of the way. By comparison, that sort of thing rarely happens in New Zealand, where there's usually a strip of grass, or a fence, in between the road and the railway. I'm impressed by the amount and variety of custom assets on the Darjeeling route, with my favourite location being the Batavia Loop. However, the scenery is still pretty basic in a few areas. Although we don't get the entire New Jalpaiguri to Darjeeling line in TS, and driving on the route that we do get is a bit precarious with all the sharp curves, I still like it for the high level of detail and unique status as an Indian route in TS Classic. This is very good for a freeware pack, and I can easily recommend it to people who are after something out of the ordinary. For now, I give the freeware Darjeeling Himalayan Railway for TS a 6.8 out of 10.